season to be jolly. La 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel. La 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 la. Don the ancient Yuletide carol. La 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 la. See the blazing Yule before us. La 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus. La 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 la. Follow me in merry measure. La 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 la. While I sing a Yuletide treasure. La 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 la. Fast away the old year passes. Fa la 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 la. Hail the new me lads and lasses. Fa la 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 la. Sing we joyous all together. La 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 la. Heedless of the wind and weather. La 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 la.
Thank you. Thank you. And welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Columbus, an inclusive spiritual community of people supporting each other as we search for our personal truth and meaning. I'm Rick Spradlin, your service leader this morning, and I'll also be your speaker. And a little later on, I'll be presenting Hope is the Reason for the Season. Okay. Now, to begin our service, let us light our chalice. The chalice speaks to us of reason, tolerance, and freedom, and also compassion, justice, and love. May its flame ever warm and illuminate our lives. And now this morning's offering will be given and received in the spirit of grateful fellowship. Our third Sunday giveaway the plate this month will be giving donations to enrichment services. Donations will be for clothing, food, diapers, and transportation for family needs.
Shining star will lend heaven's light. Voices of angels joy
Thank you. That was beautiful. Yeah, please join me in this next reading titled Hope Rises. It comes from the Reverend John A. Buens and the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Ann Parker, both Unitarian Universalist ministers. I'll read the regular type, if you'll please read the italics below it. Hope rises. Hope longs. Hope remembers. Hope acts. Thank you. Winter may seem like an odd time to hold an annual celebration. Winter is cold, winter is gray, winter is bleak. Winter is the epitome of desperation, loneliness, and despair. On the other hand, it's a great time to have a party. In an agrarian society, which humanity has been for most of its history, there's not much work left to be done at this time of year. The fall harvest is in, and it will soon be too cold for any new crops. The last barley crop has now been made into beer. There is enough wine now that you can drink some of it straight without having to mix it with water, which was done both to stretch the wine and to sanitize the water. And yes, winter is gloomy and depressing and not very hopeful at all. And giving up a portion of the food and drink that you have stored away for winter was a sacrifice. It was an act of faith that you would make it through that gloomy winter. But isn't that when you need hope the most? When times are dark and gloomy? It's only fitting that we would find hope during the darkest time of the year, for that is the essential nature of hope. Hope only appears when it is needed. It is only in those darkest of days that hope makes itself known to us. That is why in all the world's major religions, they draw their spiritual light from hope. If you remember the Greek pagan story of Zeus, who trapped all the spirits in a jar, and when Pandora opened the jar, or box, as it's often translated, all the spirits escaped except for hope. Hope remained. And so, further back than anyone can remember, this time of year, December, has always been celebrated. Before Christmas, Germanic tribes called this time of year Yule, a time in which December 21st, the winter solstice, the longest night of the year, marked the beginning of winter. A time celebrated with singing, dancing, fires, and drinking to mark the symbolic death and rebirth of the sun, S-U-N, sun. In an act of sympathetic magic, a Yule log, which is actually usually a whole tree, would burn for 12 days to encourage the sun to begin its resurrection. It was believed that if the Yule log burned for 12 days, then the sun would burn for 12 months. In the northern hemisphere, the sun reaches its southernmost point on the horizon between December 21st and 22nd, after 6 months of steadily traveling south. This day is called the winter solstice, and it is the longest night of the year. To those who watch the sun rise each morning, it appears to rise in the same spot on the horizon for 3 days. before it appears to start making its journey north. So that's 3 days of containment before the sun's resurrection. For eons, the 3 days in which the sun holds still has been called the birthing of the sun. In England, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland, stone rings have been found throughout the countryside that are believed to have been designed to capture the light of the rising sun on the winter solstice and direct it to a center stone. The ancient Egyptians believed the winter solstice was the birth of the sun god Ra. In ancient Rome, 7 days were set aside to honor the god Saturn and the continuation of life in a festival called Saturnalia. From the 1st century to the 4th century, many Roman citizens followed their own Hellenized version of a Middle Eastern religion that worshipped a son of God that was born on December 25th, after having been held inside of a rock for 3 days before being born. The followers believed that if they followed the sacred rites of this religion, they would be allowed to join this god, called Mithra, in eternal life. Also from the Middle East, by way of Rome, comes the Christian religion that celebrates the birth of a small child from Nazareth who would bring hope of salvation to all the world. For Buddhists, December 8th is celebrated as Bodhi Day, the day that the Buddha declared that he would sit under the Bodhi tree until he had awakened, or enlightened, as we usually translate it in the West. From December 10th until December 18th, Hanukkah is celebrated, marking the rededication of the temple in Jerusalem by gradually lighting the 8 candles of a special menorah that symbolizes the gradual growth of hope. So I told you all of that to say this. And all of these religious traditions, the central theme of December is the promise of hope. Hope that life itself is reborn. Hope that truth and fulfillment can be found. Whether you are Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, pagan, Buddhist, or atheist, hope is the reason for the season. Oftentimes, we underestimate the value of hope. We think of hope only as a last resort. We think of hope as showing up when all else is lost. But the truth is, it's only in desperation that we take notice of hope. Just like the story of Pandora's box, hope remained. It didn't just appear, it was there all along. But because we don't appreciate it at times, we fail to notice it. Hope sustains us during hard times. It inspires us to do the impossible, even when it seems like we can do nothing at all. Dr. Jonas Salk once said that hope lies in dreams, in imagination, and in the courage of those who dare to make dreams into reality. And Emily Dickinson once wrote that hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without words and never stops at all. As Unitarian Universalists, we are encouraged to see the value in all religions, those with deities and those without. So when my coworkers, my neighbors, or my relatives tell me that Jesus is the reason for the season, I know in my heart that they are right. Because Christianity, at the heart of Christianity, the true loving Christianity, is the power of hope brought into the world by an innocent child, the baby Jesus. So I'm not going to get bent out of shape about where an individual's source of hope comes from, because hope can come in many different ways, in many different forms to different people. I might remind them that hope from all these different sources has been the reason for the season for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But more than likely, I'm just going to wish them all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And thank you for listening.
cheer, or